Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lowdown. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined finally, it's been a little while, on this fine Thursday evening, Thursday night my time, Thursday evening your time, by Raj Shapalu, back from Vegas, back from the desert, with a little bit of money on the Kansas City Chiefs. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. Yeah, great to be back. 5 days in Vegas is too long. You lose your sense of smell, taste, everything is a
Sobriety.
casino. Yes, and the smell of smoke. So glad to be back talking basketball.
You go there pretty often. Like, where do you guys usually stay?
Yeah, it kind of depends. So this time we were at the Strat, and then I go again in next week. So next Saturday I'm back there. During the Super Bowl week, we'll be at the Resort World. So yeah, it's I go to Vegas a few times, and then obviously Summer League, which is in 3 or 4 months as well, which I count down to as well.
Man, that's crazy. We are not quite in count time range, but we are.
Yes.
You could see it off in the distance, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Today on the show, we're going to be talking about the Lakers beating the Washington Wizards 134-96 was the final there. It somehow wasn't even that close, I don't think.
No.
It probably could have been a 50-point game if the Lakers really, really wanted it to be. Honestly, good though. Like JJ Redick said after the game, he was happy that they played angry. I don't know if they played angry so much as like Washington played sad, but like I don't care. The last thing that I wanted was for them to like let Washington hang around after like the first quarter and give
Yeah.
them enough momentum. Poole knocks down some shots,
Mhm.
Kuz knocks down some shots, and then some stupid stuff happens. I was really happy that the Lakers scored 42 in the first and then scored 36 in the second, only allowed 16 in the second, and it was basically over then. So credit to the Lakers for handling their business there. We did get some Bronny James minutes there at the end as well. He got a full quarter
Yep.
under his belt there, and had the crowd going crazy.
Yeah.
But we have a ton to talk about. We have this game to talk about. Raj, it's been a little while since, so I need your thoughts on the latest trade stuff.
Mm,
We had a report drop, I think, basically during the game
mm,
about De'Aaron Fox and why
mm, mm.
he and Clutch didn't list him on or list the Lakers on their destination list,
Yeah.
which I'm sure will go over super duper well with members of our audience. And then the latest on Myles Turner, we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, let's start with the game. 134-96. Anything stick out to you?
Yeah, I think just before this game, Anthony, because obviously I think the main guy we watch as Laker fans is Kuz, and he's the one we can kind of compare what he was to what he is now, which is a very
Yeah,
sad
real
basketball
sad.
player. And
Yeah.
I think my visions of Kuz are a little bit more with rose-colored glasses because we did win the title, right? So there was some frustrating moments, but I mean, as a two-way kind of wing young player, he contributed. The guy I watched just as a basketball fan, Anthony, watching Jordan Poole. It just takes me back, and I think we forget just because of the punch and the jokes and how terrible of a style he plays now. But that dude was donned a Splash Brother. He was literally, I think it was the Pool Party. It was the name of with
Hmm.
Clay, Steph, and Jordan Poole, and his ability to be a relocator from three with the
He's a
ball handling.
champion, dude.
And he was, again, he didn't carry the team obviously when you have Steph Curry on the team, but he was one of the big parts of them being Denver that year. Obviously Denver was shorthanded, but he destroyed Denver in pick and roll. Forgot who they played in the second round, but against Boston he had some high scoring games. I just watching him, I really think that punch changed the course of the Warriors future and Jordan
Yeah.
Poole's, I guess, career arc. But no, like watching the Wizards, this is a very unserious basketball team, which again, you look at their starters. Poole is a vet now. Kyle Kuzma's a vet now. Jonas Valanciunas is a starter. Those are three should be NBA type players, and it didn't look like it. I've continued to push to beat the drum on. I just don't think Jonas Valanciunas is the answer, and he
I
continues
don't
to
think
help me.
he thinks so either. Like,
Yeah, yeah. He
I
doesn't
don't
look
think he
motivated at
knows what
all.
an audition is. He's like, Jonas, this is the only 2 times Rob Pelinka is going to see you this season.
Right.
You have to, like, do you want to be a Laker? If you do, you have to play well.
Yeah,
And he,
yeah.
no, like, I'm good. I am good. I shoot many times here in Washington.
Right. And I guess my point that I've always been pushing, he's not this bad of a player that we've seen, but this is who he is. Like, yes, he's a big physical dude, but he's also the guy that loves the long two. And he does
Yeah.
hit it at a pretty respectable rate, but when it's not going in, it looks very ugly. Because like
Yep.
you're 7'3" and the guy under you is like 6'8". Can you go hit a post move, get a hook shot? And so yeah, he's just looked rough. And again, in the pick and roll, Austin was frying him. I mean, it's the Wizards, but still, like Austin's attack on his pick and roll defense, I thought he got to the rim at will. This is just a really bad Wizards team where everything you analyze about this game, you kind of have to put with loads and loads of salt. But no, the Wizards are terrible, and it's good the Lakers got a win, and I got to watch the South Bay guys get real legit run, including Trey Jameson, who got in like 5 different scuffles and eventually got fouled out, which I actually like, bringing like a physical body with it. But no, really really good bounce back win after that
embarrassing
loss in Philly.
Christian Coloco managed to be a -2 in the game that the Lakers won by 50.
You think that's on the board? Like, Jay, like when they get to the
JJ's
locker room?
See, we told you. Yeah, the Jameson thing. Somebody like got up in his face tonight
Mhm.
and was like really yapping at him, like really
Yeah,
going.
yeah,
And this is how you find out somebody is either about it or not. He was laughing while this was
right.
going on, and he was just
Mhm.
kind of like clapping, and I was just like, "Oh,
Mm.
don't fuck with that guy." like, like if somebody screaming in your face makes you laugh and like start
Yeah,
clapping, like if nobody was here, that person would be on the floor. Um, that's not. And look, the Lakers kind of missed that, so it was kind of nice to see Jemison kind of offer that different kind of a look culturally. Yeah, the Jonas thing, 18 minutes for Jonas tonight, 1 of 8 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3-point range.
Mhm.
Made all 3 of his free throws, only grabbed 3 rebounds, was a -24 and scored 5 points. He also didn't look good in the previous game. Here was one of my real low points, I think, of the Lakers season to this point was actually a game that the Lakers didn't play, and Jokic dropped like 50 on
Oh, yeah, on
on
the
the
Wizards.
Wizards,
Yeah,
and this was the whole point that you were going to go out and get Jonas
right. There's your Jokic
is to,
stopper.
to like slow down Jokic even just a little bit. And when I tweeted out, like, I don't think it's a great thing that this guy that you're getting to guard Jokic just had 50 something dropped on his head. I think it was a double nickel even.
Right.
Lakers fans got really angry at me over that
Yeah.
one. And I was like, guys, we don't need to stand. Like, I know that the center situation is bad, but we don't need to stand Jonas Valanciunas. Here we are.
It's a pretty bad look. Like, Jackson Hayes has completely outplayed him in both of the
Yeah,
games.
both games.
I think
This
I
time
think the
without AD.
right, without AD, didn't need him in this matchup. Still dominated, Jonas Valanciunas. And my point with Jonas has always been, in games that matter with high stakes, he's played off the floor consistently with different coaching staffs, whoever it is. They just don't play him because his, style is just a plotting center, which has some usefulness in the regular season, but in a playoff kind of environment, I think you just really lose a lot of value at that position with, with how limited he is. So hopefully, we kind of move on from him. There's other centers. There's actually a lot of centers on the market. And I just think he's on the bottom tier. So, hopefully people see kind of what I've been saying, which is this is just not the guy I'm going out. And plus Washington putting a high price tag on him is just
Yeah.
insane. It's insane.
Well, for
Absolutely
one
insane.
thing, they paid him an extra year too many. Like,
Right.
if Washington wanted the trade package that they wanted from the Lakers, they would have had to give him a better contract, right? He's on a 3-year deal. Now, the third year is not guaranteed, but you still have to pay him going into next year, even if this year doesn't go well. So, like, for the Lakers, you're like, look, we'll give you a second, and that's essentially how they entered the year and how they entered those conversations with them. Now, there is something to be said about, like, the Washington would have a year of Gabe's contract, or maybe they would
Mhm.
take on Christian Wood's remaining salary for this season, and maybe you have to compensate them for that. But at this point, like, the Wizards probably did the Lakers a big favor. Dude, I was hearing the other day, like, as I was writing, when I wrote about Myles Turner, um, I was hearing, like, protected second, given all that was going on in those negotiations. And I'm like, this is why you guys are the worst team I've ever seen. Like, this is why the Washington Wizards are the worst team. I'm not kidding, dude. They are the worst basketball team I've ever seen. College, NBA,
Yeah.
high school, like Frosh Soft, like, this is the worst team I have ever seen. Both in terms of, like, talent, because their best player is Jordan Poole, so that's already going to put a cap on how good you're going to be talent wise. And then, like, really importantly, in terms of, like, give up leap and organization. At one point in this game, Stu Lance was screaming at the Wizards, "Run a play, run something."
Right. Yeah. And I've said this, before, but once you let this kind of losing stench into your organization, it's really tough to get that out. And the Wizards, I don't think it's for a lack of talent either. But, the quotes from Kuzma recently when they asked him, about kind of the organizational direction they're going, and he said, yeah, I'm not really with that. I'm going to go and do what I want to do on the floor. I'm going to take the shots I want to take and kind of push away the development part. And you watch them. Alex Sarr was out tonight, so obviously he's a big part of their future. But everything else, you're just wondering kind of what direction they're going. And it's just not a great look to me, where Max Christie looked like the best young player on either side. And that's a team that's been bad for a while now. And Max looked like the best prospect. So yeah, they have a long road ahead, and it feels like they're just going to sell super low on Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma and see what they can get from those guys. But yeah, there's a bad stench in that organization. They're going to have a long kind of road to fixing that.
I don't even know if they're on a road. Like, they
Yeah,
are
they're in the grass. Yeah.
they are like, yeah, they are off-roading through, like, some of the worst muck that you could possibly put your car through.
Yeah.
Sam Davison does make a good, like, this was the next guy that I wanted to bring up before we wrap things up tonight. I thought it was an important game for Shake Milton.
Mm-hmm.
One, he played really poorly against Charlotte, and then was benched in favor of Bronny last game. Bronny came in ahead of him, and, like, honestly, because of how poorly Shake played in the Charlotte game. And then he got out there today and looked, I think, like, legitimately like an NBA player.
It,
This was a good game for him.
Yeah, I was actually, not high, but I was like very interested in Shake as a player when he was kind of a throw in the trade, right? And you're kind of look at these players that, are kind of journeymen, been on, a bunch of different teams, but he has good size at the point guard position, can score, off the bounce, has a weird kind of jerky motion to his shot, but it goes in at a pretty consistent rate. But yeah, I like what he did tonight. Again, against a Wizards defense, Anthony, it's tough to I don't know how to judge a 20-point game against the Wizards. That's like a 8-point game, I guess, if you average that out to a regular normal defense. But no, it was good that he played well. And yeah, got kind of lapped by Bronny in the rotation, strangely, as the third
Yeah.
string guard, which I'm sure he maybe took a little personal tonight.
Good team to have, like, to bring a grudge in against, right?
Right.
Because they played zero. The only time the Wizards play any kind of defense was when anybody was isolated guarding Bronny,
Yeah,
because
they
they
were
didn't
full
want to
court
be the guy
pressuring
that.
him.
What's that?
They were full court pressuring him every
Yeah,
single
like,
time up the floor.
like, it was, they either wanted to get the highlight against him, like picking his pocket and going down and dunking on him, or they wanted to avoid being scored on by him.
Right.
And like honestly, I really think that's a good summary of like the Wizards, the state of the Wizards right now. That's the thing that everybody is united and caring about is that nonsense. Just
Yeah.
a just a loser team and a loser organization.
With
All right,
with two
let's
champions starting.
what
Good.
what's that? Yeah, two like champion, like they were key pieces of championships,
Key
by the way.
pieces, yes. They
Like
weren't just
really
riding the bench.
important. They both closed games on championship teams, and
Multiple.
the
Yeah.
Wizards are terrible
They brought nothing
because
with
of
them.
those guys. Right, because those guys are setting the culture, and they're two of the dumbest NBA players out there in terms of like approach to the basketball. Like just absolutely wild turn and sad turn of events. Like I don't know if you've ever seen like an ex-girlfriend out in public and you see them and you're like, ooh, that's not the guy for you, honey. Like, like like he's like, I don't think that
Oh,
tattoo was the right move there, babe. Like
speaking of, I mean, Kyle Kuzma's tattoos is just wow. He has that.
so many. Oh man. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this De'Aaron Fox thing, which is making the rounds. This is the quote from the piece from our dude, friend of the pod, the People's Insider, Jake Fisher, who writes for the Steinline, which he is writing. He and Mark teamed up on a really cool project together. Quote, among the reasons why the Lakers are not Fox's preferred destination, Clutch has direct knowledge of many Lakers dealings thanks to its representation of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, which means Clutch knows, as sources tell the Steinline, that the Lakers have zero intention of parting with Sacramento's presumed top target in any Fox discussion, Austin Reeves. End quote. I'll let you kind of handle that. I'm literally texting Jake to make sure I don't speak out of line on this. What do you think of that? Like at on face value.
Yeah. Well, first number one, there is no way in hell the Kings are trading De'Aaron Fox to the Los Angeles Lakers. There's just no way. I think they're giving you their, franchise cornerstone of the last 7-8 years or whatever it's been, whatever package it is. But that report the Lakers keeping Austin Reeves as the untouchable, I guess, in that scenario, I think is correct. I wouldn't put Austin in that deal. I think you would have to kind of obviously go out.
You wouldn't?
No, I wouldn't trade Austin for De'Aaron Fox. I would not.
I mean, it wouldn't be straight up. Like it would be
Sure, but
everything, and then on top of that,
right.
Austin.
That's what I mean. I mean, obviously, De'Aaron Fox is going to cost you both first round picks. There's just no way around that. And obviously, Austin's going to have to be necessary in terms of the Kings feeling like they got anything back of value. So I would not, entertain that trade. I just think De'Aaron Fox is going to make too much on whatever his next contract is. So that's where I'm at with that. I understand it.
I mean,
It's a
Austin
stranger.
isn't going to be cheap either.
He's not, but I mean, Fox still is going to command, I think, a much higher salary than even
I think
Austin
he's
is.
also like a few years younger than Austin.
Fox is 27. So
Okay.
Austin, I think, is what, 26, 25.
Man,
But
I'm
no,
old. Has he been in the league this long?
He has. He's the Lonzo year. You remember he was drafted right after Lonzo. No,
Jeez, that's crazy.
He was like fifth in that
Couple
draft.
picks later. I do remember like my like controversial stance on that was that like I actually think Fox is going to be really good. I thought that his shot, like his form, was fine enough that it could be workable, and he was not an analytics darling coming out of college, and so there was a lot of people didn't like Fox coming out of college because the analytics behind it. But I don't know. I liked the give a bleep and the speed, man. The speed is insane. He is actually older. He's like you said, he's 27. Austin is 26. So would you rather have him on his next contract at like 50 million or Austin on his next contract at like he'll probably get like 25 or 30?
Right. Yeah, and I think I would rather have Austin. Plus, right, it would also I'm including the 2 first round picks that would be out the window. And plus, I think you have
Dalton.
to add and Dalton, and whatever other salaries that you would have to kind of move. I don't think it's a realistic move anyway. This report, Anthony, you can kind of speak on better on like where these reports come from or who, I guess, has an advantage of this report coming out. But yeah, I agree with it. I guess if I'm the Lakers, that's a stance that I would also be on. So I'm also a little lower on Fox than maybe the general kind of public is. But yeah, I'm fine with that report. Where are you at with it?
The fact that Fox wants to go to the Spurs has me higher on him, actually. Like I really think he has his like priorities in order. He looked at Sacramento. He's like, we needed to get bigger, and you brought in DeMar DeRozan. I
Which
don't
was
think
a
he was
terrible
thrilled
move.
with Mike Brown. So like you have that going on, but I think the Mike Brown friction was more DeMar than it was Fox. I think it's pretty clear at this point. All right. I don't have tinfoil on me. I should have brought some before I offered up this take.
Yeah.
This struck me a little as Clutch passive aggressively telling the Lakers, guys,
ruffling the feathers a
guys,
little bit.
like, because I think they know what the response to this is going to be. They know how Lakers fans are going to feel in response to the Aaron Fox being on the table and the Lakers still holding tight to Austin Reeves. I think, it's just you can never completely distance anything Clutch from like how LeBron feels about stuff, and I think LeBron truly does and actually does trust Austin, as much as he's ever trusted any role player ever. But if the Lakers are like completely against moving Austin, remember the phrasing here was in any Fox discussions, but it could also be like in any discussions, right? It was DeJounte Murray before. It was now it's Fox. And especially like guys at his position too, by the way, that I feel is somewhat noteworthy here. That like it does, and isn't Murray Clutch too? He is, right?
He is. But they were correct, right? I mean, DeJounte Murray, they were correct to have Austin out of the DeJounte Murray conversations.
I think no, to be clear, like I think those are two separate subjects. I think those are like one is because look, the Clutch guys, Anthony Davis and LeBron James wanted Jonas, right? Like heading into the season. Right. So like clearly their basketball instincts aren't perfect, know. But I do kind of think that like and this, to be absolutely clear, is speculation on my part. This is not reporting. But this feels like a little like lashing out after years of like Austin isn't on the table. And now like, over the last couple of weeks, there's been talk that like Rui isn't really on the table either. And like, I kind of feel like LeBron and the rest of like the, Clutch as a group, it's kind of like, so who the fuck is, right? Sure. Like who actually are you willing to move to improve this team? Because this team is not good enough as currently constituted. And I think like I said it the other day, how I thought it was really interesting to me that in consecutive games, Anthony Davis chewed out Rui on the court, and then LeBron chewed out Rui on the court. And I think both those guys are very aware of the fact that, like, if this roster is going to improve, it's probably going to cost Rui Hachimura. Sure. And like going into the trade deadline, like rumors, and again, it is line season, so you have to, take everything you hear with a grain of salt. But the talk was the Lakers really, really like Rui, and they aren't going to just throw him into any deal, which is probably, to your point, the right basketball stance. But if you're LeBron and you're Anthony Davis and you're seeing your opportunities at winning a championship completely dwindle while they're holding up a guy who is popular probably mostly because of the number he wears and the LA sign that he likes to drop, you're probably looking at it like, are we actually serious about improving? And I thought this report dropping, a week or so away from the deadline, it felt to me a little bit like guys, somebody has to be on the table in order to get better here.
Sure, and let's be perfectly clear. You don't get any of these big fish, and I would still put De'Aaron Fox. Whatever I feel about him doesn't really matter. I put De'Aaron Fox in the big fish pool. Anthony, right? He's going to make the $50 million a year. He's a star name. He's had big playoff games and moments. You're not getting that guy without letting Austin Reeves go. It's just not possible. There's no negotiation without Austin Reeves there. And I'm sure this report can kind of be read as, yeah, we're not even calling Rob Pelinka because we know Austin's not on the table for a guy like De'Aaron Fox. Now, Rui Hachimura is a totally different conversation. Like that, I don't put Austin and Rui in the same kind of stratosphere in terms of trades or, in terms of value and who's untouchable. And again, I think untouchable is a word like we throw around, and I'm sure there's guys the Lakers would move him for. I don't think De'Aaron Fox is in that boat. And just putting my opinion on it, I think guys who make the $50+ million, they need to be at somewhat best X part player at their position. And I don't know where Fox is, but he's like maybe the 5th or 6th best, 7th best.
He's not an
point guard.
all-star. So
Right. So like, yeah, and I'm not judging him on that, but just you go down that
it
position of
matters.
yeah, sure. But like the on-ball guard, right, is what he is, and just the amount of players better than him at that is kind of where I'm at with Fox. But no, like I can see where Clutch can go about it and put out their frustrations with how the Lakers are handling the trades. But I think Rui and Austin are completely different universes there. But again, I think the Lakers are correct to have that feel with DeJounte Murray. I feel like I'm a little bit more in the minority of I think they're correct to have that with De'Aaron Fox as well. But I'm sure Clutch is like, hey, we had Trae Young on the table a few months ago as well, right? And that's another guy that probably they told Atlanta, hang up the phone because that's this conversation is not going any more forward. And there's other Clutch guys I'm sure in the league that fit that bill as well. But no, I would not make a package that I guess Sacramento would accept for De'Aaron Fox.
Can we let's do the exercise. Jason and I did it in yesterday's show. Let's do it really quickly in this one. So it would probably be like everything that isn't tied down.
Sure.
So you're talking both the picks. You're probably talking about what's left of the pick that they owe to Utah. You're probably like you're talking about swaps probably too, second round draft capital potentially as well. So just think of like every bit of draft capital, just consider that a part of the trade. But let's just talk about this from like a talent still left on the roster perspective.
Okay.
It would be Austin going, it would be Dalton going, it would probably be Gabe and Rui going, and then probably Vando too, just to get you there contract wise. I'd have to look. I think it does require Vando though too. Let's see. What does Fox make?
Fox is only at 30. He's at 34, 35.
Okay, so then you don't need to include Vando.
No. Yeah.
All right. So then it would be
Austin, Rui, and kind of in like one more contract probably gets you there.
Yeah. So
Rui's at 18, 28. Yeah.
Austin and Gabe for Fox. What does that get us?
That's what, like 20, 21 million, I believe.
Yeah. So the Lakers would be saving $6 million. If they did that, they would actually be only a little bit of work left to get under the first apron. And then you could sign a player who gets bought out and makes more than 12.9 mil. But let's say that's the trade that goes out. I wouldn't miss Gabe all that much.
Sure.
I would certainly miss Austin quite a bit. I would certainly miss Rui a little bit. But the team that you have left over, you'd have Fox, Max, Dorian, LeBron, and AD as your starters. And then it gets tricky. Then you have Dalton would go out too, right? So maybe you include Dalton and not Gabe. Let's see if that works. Let's see. Trade fails because the Lakers add money. So you would have to do some extra stuff too. But then your bench is Gabe and Vando and Hayes. So that gets
Mm,
you to an 8-man rotation. Whatever guy maybe
yeah.
you get in the buyout market. Yeah,
Yeah, so I
it's
mean,
not
it's rough.
much.
No, and it takes you all the way out of any other center, right? Because all your draft capital is
Since yeah.
gone. Yeah, to go get another center. I just again, and also, I mean, moving forward, your team is Fox and AD. I just again, I'm not sure. That's the core two I want to commit to going forward either. That doesn't excite me. I guess
I
maybe I
think
mean
that's kind of a
picky.
beggars choosers thing.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
otherwise, like
sure.
your core two after LeBron is Austin and AD, and Fox
Right.
is the better player than
Fox
Austin. So
Fox is better than Austin for sure. But yeah, and then that team that's going forward, I just again I don't think that gets you there from a talent standpoint better than what you would have now, plus the draft equity you have to kind of improve the team in another way. So I wouldn't go for it. And again, I don't think we live in a universe where the Kings are trading you De'Aaron Fox to the
yeah,
Lakers.
that's the other thing. It's like
No way.
you call them and you just go straight to voicemail every
Right.
time.
Yeah.
You would probably have to go to Sacramento and hold up signs,
Right. To do the
like Quebec,
negotiation.
pick up the phone, just to see how that goes. But yeah, I again, it's all moot for that reason. I'm
Mhm.
split on it. Like one moment I think no, you don't want to do it, because if that trade doesn't work out for whatever reason, you're right back in the Russell Westbrook situation. Um, he has more time left in his career than Russ did at that
Oh
time.
yeah, he's
But like
27 and he's still
you're still looking at like if that doesn't work out, then you have to hit on this upcoming draft.
Mhm.
You absolutely have to. Or you turn, since you wouldn't be trading Gabe, you turn Gabe's expiring and the first round pick into another player there. But so like it's very, very risky. But then on the other hand, it's like I don't know. I saw today that like the Spurs aren't willing to give up Stephon Castle, or they also aren't willing to give up Vassell. And it's
Sure.
like, guys, do you want the guy or not? Like I know
Right.
it's all
Yeah,
line
those are
speed,
all
I know it's
gone.
all
Let's
posturing, but
yeah,
like what do we like I saw like I've heard some stuff like when it comes to other teams around the league where it's like Portland is getting offers for Kamara
Kamara.
Carrera
Kamara. Mhm.
Kamara, yeah, and they like are holding on tight to that guy, and it's like guys, you guys are rebuilding. He's at least 4 years older than anybody who matters on your roster. Like, go ahead and trade him and bring in another piece and see if you could draft something using that piece or trade for somebody using that piece who more closely fits that timeline. Like
Yeah.
everybody in the NBA is so risk averse. This is a like the clutch player of the year thing I think is a bit of a joke when it comes to awards, but like he is I do think he's a winner. I think he's wired like a winner in
Sure.
Fox. He's an extremely talented player. He has gotten better basically every year that he's been in the league to this point. And I think has another year or so left of improvement before he's like in his full on prime.
Right.
He would immediately but with him and Wemby, San Antonio would be set for the next decade, and like if you're the Lakers, he doesn't quite fit the same timeline as AD. Although I guess he kind of does. Um, those guys, like in the West, they at least give you a chance at the play in, year out. Like
Sure.
it's at least a decent starting point, and that's better than we have currently at the rate that we're going. With what the Lakers have in store, where they are going to hold on to these first round picks, and they're going to hope that they hit the lottery with those picks in the mid first in the middle of the round. Like it's just I would I think
Yeah,
I probably finally land on go
pulling the
out,
trigger.
get the guy who is definitely a 1B to AD's 1A, and
Yeah.
then see if you could find a third best player who is at Fox's level, and then all of a sudden you're a championship team again. I think.
Yeah, I could see that argument. To me, like acquiring Fox would be much more for the post LeBron era, right? I think
Yeah.
that's what that trade would kind of signal, is that this is the guy that's next. I just We're still in the LeBron and AD era, at least for now, right? As much as the conversation is, and I think the needs of the team kind of supersede another on ball guy that just, to put all your kind of assets into that position, I think would be a mistake. But for San Antonio, Anthony, I love it. They're in the position where Wemby's still on his rookie contract. He just made the All-Star game. That dude
Yeah.
is rising at,
He's
a
gonna be an
speed that
MVP candidate next year.
he's absurd. He's going to be in DPOY every single season. They're in a position where they're like, let's just get Wemby into games that matter. Let's get him into playoff situations, right? And they're in a very cool place where everything they do, they can, if they don't love De'Aaron Fox, they can trade him as well. He's 27. They can get him into their system. He can play with Wemby, and he doesn't have to be I don't think De'Aaron Fox, even if he gets traded to San Antonio, is Wemby's partner for life. I don't think they're tied at the hip. It's just a guy that's very good that they get to pair with their generational player. I love it for them. I don't think Stephon Castle should be the, deciding factor, but I understand San Antonio with 2 weeks before the deadline, they're in no rush, and they're kind of looking at it as they're in position of power here, where Clutch is about to pull all the strings to get De'Aaron Fox out of the position, doing what they do. I don't know if you saw the tweet, but like Rich Paul, I guess, tweeted the 80 news on the exact same day that the De'Aaron Fox
January
news
29th
came back,
or 28th.
January 28th, just perfect timing. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. But it feels like he's going to San Antonio, just like feels like Jimmy Butler's going to Phoenix. It's just these kind of things are pretty loud before they happen. But I love it for San Antonio. I just don't think it fits what we are doing now. But no, Fox is a great player, and hopefully, look, I don't want him in San Antonio. I think that's a freaking dangerous pairing to throw into this Western Conference that already has a Jokic in it, and the Clippers getting healthy, and OKC. But that's what I think is the best, I guess, fit for him.
Yeah, I don't know if it happens this year, him going to San Antonio. It's just a lot of moving parts to pull off, in a week or so. But if he does, yeah, like you're saying, it's a dangerous duo moving forward. I would think that they need another, like maybe Vassell is the third guy there. I'm a little lower on him than most. But
his money might be enough. Vassell makes like $30 million.
Yeah, so like if I think they probably, like, the Spurs are probably telling Sacramento, you get to choose between the two guys there. And if it is Vassell, then it's just like Vassell and a shit ton of draft picks, and
right.
And you basically swap out Vassell. The Fox Castle combination would be badass.
Oh, now
That is
I'm sure the Spurs feel the same way.
Oh my god.
They're like, take Keldon Johnson,
Yeah.
You can have
That
Keldon
is
Johnson.
that is such a perfect backcourt. You like
That'd be
Fox
nasty.
is so damn good offensively. Castle's going to be a monster defensively from here on out. They're both crazy athletic too. Shit.
Yeah. And
Don't
quiet
do it, San
assassins
Antonio.
too.
Just for my own sake.
Fox
Hold on
is
tight.
good. Yeah. Hold your picks. Hold your first rounders. Chris Paul is good this year. Just keep Chris Paul.
Yeah, you're fine. You're good. I actually do want Chris Paul in the Lakers by a buyout. He makes less than the 12-9, and if he gets included in that trade package going to Sacramento and he gets bought out, he's better than Gabe. So all right, let's go ahead and we got to talk about Myles Turner really quickly. The latest, right? And this is why, like, as I've been reporting all of this, I've been telling you guys, I am also very skeptical of the fact that Indiana would actually trade him this year. But Dan Wojcicki said that, he doesn't think Turner is all that available based on the conversations he's had. Mark Stein said much of the same, and that if Indiana did trade Turner, they would have to get a starting caliber center back. That is not something that the Lakers can offer. So then all of a sudden you're expanding it to a 3-team deal, which becomes a different level of complicated in and of itself. But is Turner, to you, Raj, worthy of the 2 first-round picks?
He is for me, and I was on the Turner bandwagon in 2022. I thought they should have given it up then. And look, you would have had to have Buddy Hield. You also wouldn't have had Vando, although we haven't really had Vando. So I mean, it's just it's So I don't know how that those events would have turned. But I think Turner would be a monster. Him and AD would be up there for best defensive front court in the league. It would be a kind of no-fly zone at the rim. He's also shooting 40%, 41%, I think, on threes on over like 5 attempts a game. Just made the conference finals as well, kind of patrolling the rim for Indiana. I think he's exactly what the Lakers need, and he fills 2 needs, Anthony, which I think are important. He obviously gives AD the center that he wants, and he also gives LeBron the spacing 5 in second units, and it's just a combination that doesn't really exist. And the Lakers have been trying to find this player. It's just, I had this rant I don't remember what podcast it was, but the Lakers do this where they try to find this player at the minimum salary, right? They tried it at Mo Bamba, Thomas Bryant. I forgot the other names that they've kind of really circled around trying to find this guy. Colin Castleton, they drafted as like hopefully a stretch 5. But Myles Turner, I forgot, I don't know his exact contract. Obviously, I think he makes like 25 million or whatever it is. I think he's worth it. Now, Indiana's also they're not has as much hatred as the Kings do, but a similar amount, it feels like, in terms
they
of
certainly
them
don't like the Lakers.
Oh, no, they don't. They would have rather send Paul George to Oklahoma City than send over here. But yeah, Myles Turner would be fantastic. And if it's like Rui and the 2 picks, I think I would do it. I think that's enough. And imagine a line of, just let me live in this universe for a little bit, Anthony. It was like Vando, DFS, AD, and Myles Turner with Austin Reeves at point guard. Like, oh my God, the switchability, the ability, 2 guys who protect the rim, having someone where AD doesn't have to always be the helpline guy. And Myles Turner, I think, wants to be here. He had a podcast with Woj when Woj was doing blowing podcasts where
they should totally make that deal. I was like, huh?
No, I'll never forget. It's the first question Woj asked Myles Turner. Myles Turner, Indiana Pacer Myles Turner was, so should the Lakers do it? It's the first question on the pod. Should the Lakers do it? And he's like, what? It's like, should they trade both first round picks for you? It's an active player. But
yeah, Myles was like, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He's like, well, no, well, he gave a very political answer. He's like, oh, they have to kind of look at it from all sides.
Yeah, but like the Key and Peele translator behind him was like, fuck yeah, they should trade those 2 picks. They got Russell Westbrook. They're terrible.
Get me out of Indiana.
Get me out of Indiana.
Yeah, I would do it.
They're all like, I'm sitting here doing like cow Legos. I hate it here. You know how close LA is to Legoland compared to Indiana?
I've actually never been to Legoland. That's another place.
Me neither. I've never been.
Okay.
I have friends who are like, yeah, you should take your kids there. And I'm like, if I'm in San Diego, I would much rather go to a beach, which is free, over Legoland.
Like, I learned today it's in San Diego. So
yeah, I'm with you though, to answer your question. And to get back to like the reporting aspect of this, it would have to be a 3-team trade. And actually, I Get Boards for Days kind of mentioned the building of, or the way that trade could possibly look. So I'll go ahead and get us started with the super comments. Pirtle and a pick to Indy, one of the picks to Indy, and then Rui, JHS, and 1 pick to Toronto. You would probably have to give up like a second also to Toronto, but or Indiana would have to give up a second to Toronto. Either one of those. With Turner going to LA, would this be a realistic 3-team path to a trade? That's essentially the way that the trade has to look. You could always expand it, and it could always get more kind of tricky and complicated from there. At the end of the day, the boxes that need to be checked here from the Lakers standpoint, they want Turner, right? So box checked there. From Indiana's standpoint, they still want a starting caliber center who can help them right now and also continue to fit alongside Halliburton moving forward, and is also cheaper than Turner is going to be. Pirtle, I think, clears most of that. We'll see what Pirtle's next contract looks like. But I think right
He's
now
very
Pirtle
good.
is making about like 16.9 or something, like 17.
Yeah.
Um, he's also really solid and would be popular there in Indiana for reasons. And they get a first rounder out of the Lakers for this too, which they're going to be expecting. And then from Toronto's standpoint, they really, really like Pirtle, to be
Yeah.
absolutely clear. And every chance they get, they tell people how much they like Pirtle and how much they're thinking about extending him this summer anyway. The only thing there is, you've been on this treadmill of mediocrity with that approach to a very mediocre core. And Pirtle is good, but he's not going to change your team's outlook anytime soon, in the way that it certainly would with Indiana, right? Where they have a better grouping. They have Siakam. They've already made a deal, by the way, with Toronto. So you have a better relationship there to make something work. So, yeah, I think that's probably the clearest path here towards a trade. It's just a matter of if the Lakers are willing to trade everything that they would need to
Yeah.
convince both teams, both sides of that triangle, to make that deal.
Yeah. I like this deal a lot. Again, you can kind of take out Pirtle and put another name. You wrote about Rob Williams as well as a name that is a guy you can put in here. But no, I like it. I would do this deal. Sad to see my guy JHS be sent to Toronto, but yeah, I think I like this trade, and I think it would fix a lot of boxes for a lot of the teams and kind of give everyone what they want. Question: would Toronto trade, I guess, but Pirtle for that package? That's interesting because I know they really like him and he's legit good. He's kind of hiding in Toronto because how terrible they're playing
Yeah.
a little bit better, but how terrible they are. But that dude is a legit skilled 5 that a lot of teams should be going after if they could.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they're asking for a first and then stuff for
Sure.
Pirtle. So, again, the Lakers might have to pay up a little bit more than just giving up the first. I do know they like Rui there in Toronto. They love their wings, and they especially like bigger wings. Rui is definitely that. I don't know if he necessarily fits in with their culture of defense and physicality in the way that they would want him to play in, play out. But yeah, and the other thing there too is God, I wish JHS was even healthy. He hasn't been able to play a game G League or Lakers at all this season. So
Nope.
he is at this point is just a
Salary. Yeah.
expiring contract, which obviously hurts quite a bit in these negotiations. But I think that version of the trade is probably the clearest path to getting something done and landing Turner. And I'll be absolutely clear here. I'll believe Turner is traded when I actually see him wearing a different jersey. I just
It's like the 5th deadline.
they were just right. There's the Lucy and the football aspect of it, but then you also have they were just in the Eastern Conference Finals. They have
Right.
played great basketball since 2025 has started. They are rising up through the ranks in the Eastern Conference because all it takes to rise through the ranks of the Eastern Conference is playing 500 basketball. So, and they're playing well above that. So they're clearly going places, and Turner was a big part of it last year, is a big part of it again this year. I find it really hard to believe that a playoff team, even given the contract stuff, I find it really hard to believe that a playoff team would be especially at the end of Herb Simon's life, where he wants to win a championship before he passes away. He's not on his way out, but he's definitely old as hell. And he's going to be he's going to look at this and say, this might be the core that he finally pays the luxury tax for, because he might not have another opportunity to pay the luxury tax.
Sure.
And I think if they do decide that they can't afford Myles Turner, then you address that in the summer after making another playoff run.
Sure. And also, again, just sending him to the Lakers, I'm sure that's not what their ownership wants to do at all. So I'm with you. I don't think it will happen, but I would definitely do the trade. Turner fits he fits all of Rob Pelinka's ass, right? The guy who's young enough that's for the next kind of portion of the team. He's also really good right now. He would help this version of it. That was the two kind of qualifications for moving both first round picks. Turner fits that box.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and finish out these super comments. Ryan Lucas won that Fisher report of LA saying no AR for Fox is wild, mind-boggling if it's true. What in the world is going on with Woods? Seems like more than an injury. I don't know if he's ever going to play in the NBA again. That being Wood, like,
You think that's from an injury standpoint or just reputation?
both? Like, I the last time we saw him wasn't all that great. He's getting a little older now. He's missed a year and a half of basketball, heading into free agency. Like, he might be one of those guys that like goes to Europe, plays really well in Europe, and then maybe gets a look back in the NBA. But I don't think his next contract that he signs is going to be in the NBA.
It's great. I just looked it up. I thought he was older as well. He's only 29, and he's another guy that AD is fond of, and I think he was part of kind of a guy that AD wanted. Obviously, a guy that Darvin Ham also really wanted. So it's interesting to see who had kind of more pull in terms of getting Christian Wood here. But I'm with you. I don't think it really fits what the Lakers' needs are. But I'm sure he wants to play, though, right? I mean, I highly doubt that.
I don't think they're like holding him out or anything.
Right. So his injury has been extremely strange. He's also another guy, Anthony, that like tweets out, I'm coming back, or coming soon type stuff when it's still very far away. So I don't really understand the decision to do that stuff. But Christian Wood feels like he's not coming back anytime soon.
Yeah. And then we touched on the Fisher report there quite a bit. One last addition to that is a lot of times when we frame these conversations of like Austin not being on the table for Fox, it's because it's not just Austin. It's Austin and all of your draft capital and Dalton and this and that. And, like it's easy. We're probably going to see all kinds of graphics from ESPN and from Bleacher Report and from all of that saying like Lakers won't include Austin in this trade. But like in reality, like because he doesn't make very much money, he makes $12 million this year. Like we said earlier, Fox makes about 34. So you need to add another $20 million of contract on top of that, plus the draft capital. And then you have to figure out a way to field a competitive team beyond the guys that you now have on your roster. It's just really tricky. It really is. I think I would probably still pull the trigger, me personally. That's probably not going to be very popular in Austin's camp. I'm probably going to get a text about it, but I do think it's one of like Fox is right on the threshold of where this is a really tricky conversation. If it's a better player than Fox, absolutely include Austin in a trade for a better player than Fox. If it's a worse player than Fox, you don't even really consider it, right? Like we did with DeJounte Murray last year. Fox is like almost the exact player where this is the kind of thing that I would go back and forth on.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky. And again, I think it's not only Austin's production. His production, Anthony, at that contract, in my opinion, puts him in a tier where throwing all that stuff with him is an overpay for De'Aaron Fox. I know this isn't part of the question, but just I was thinking while you were saying ESPN is going to splatter this all over the place. They had Adam Silver on ESPN, today, and it's just hilarious that ESPN goes and the product sucks, it's awful, and Adam comes on TV and goes, let me shorten the game, just let me lessen.
I agree, guys. We need less of this sport.
Just what are we doing?
All right. Brandon Omang writes, if Max can get 10 to 15 pounds heavier and get better at passing and ball handling, it'll be a scary. Yeah, then he's Michael Jordan.
He's
I'm good on
$30 million
Jonas now. Besides AD, if all is healthy, what's the rotation? All right. So the Max thing, I do think he is going to bulk up. Like he's very clearly like thicker now than he was even like last year. You look at
Oh
some of
yeah.
the pictures of him last year till now, he's like visibly cut,
Oh
which
yeah.
he was not last season. So I think he has like broad shoulders. So I think he'll continue to get a little bit bigger. He also, Raj, really importantly, is really happy getting physical on both sides of the ball.
It-
And he has that mentality of like, all right, you want to turn this into a rock fight? We'll throw some rocks. And
yeah.
so that's a really important factor.
I thought an evaluation point of this team that was necessary before they go and make a big splash is Max Christie like real? Is this stuff legit? And Anthony, his corner three looks real. Like that thing goes in at a consistent pace. It
I'm
doesn't matter
surprised
if
when
the
he doesn't make it.
right, and even when there's a good closeout, he still makes it. He had a 4-point play a couple games ago in Charlotte. It looks like he's really comfortable with his release, and I thought that was something that they were really going to have to evaluate in terms of if that is real or not. And it looks like it is, and then you add all the other stuff, the rebounding that he does with two hands. His cutting is getting better. He's reading defenses at a much higher rate. Him and Austin are getting some chemistry as a ball screen pairing as a cutter, and them two kind of huddle up and talk about plays after every time. And he's just continuing to get better. So it's been fun to watch
He's
Max.
21.
He he made D'Lo expendable like that. Like it really
Turn around
did.
the season. I said it with Jason. I said it on ESPN the other day, like yesterday. Like I really think this season turned a corner. Actually, no, turned around. I'm gonna say 180 when Max was inserted into the starting group, because where were they going before? They couldn't stop a fucking nosebleed. Like they couldn't do anything on that side of the ball. They didn't have any other options if Max didn't work out. So
Nope.
like he got in there, he played really well, and frankly, like beyond Anthony Davis and LeBron James being like
Sure.
those guys, and the role that like Austin has played since D'Lo has gone out too, but like the the Lakers having even the possibility of being a contender this year is because of Max Christie's growth. Like, I don't think it happens without it.
100%. And a question I think I posed to you before the season started, or you posted me, I don't remember, but I said there was no good Laker team without Max
Yeah,
Christie being good.
a
Just
great
did
point.
not exist. Cam Reddish would have had to start, or you would have had to play Dalton through his struggles, right? And Dalton wouldn't be able to grow at the pace that he's gotten to because Max Christie is this good. It's just changes everything. It lets Austin not have to guard the other team's best player. They threw him on Steph, and like Steph still had a pretty good game, but like in the fourth quarter, Steph had a hard time getting separation.
He's
He's like
guarded
this
Jaw, he's guarded Fox, he's guarded Monk, he's guarded any number
Donovan
of
Mitchell,
players.
yeah, and he's done
Yeah,
it well.
Mitchell's another one. The only guy who he like really didn't fare well against was Maxey. Maxey absolutely took it to him.
Yeah,
But
oh yeah,
wow, yeah, like, and he's 21, and especially Raj, if the Lakers are, it looks like they're going to be a playoff team this year. All if they get even like stay relatively healthy, if he plays well in the postseason at 21 years old, given the stuff that he's asked to do on both ends of the ball, like you might be looking at a cornerstone type player, like a do not trade under any circumstances type player.
and he makes 8 million for the next 3 years. I mean,
Yeah,
it's an absolute steal of a
that's what drives me
contract.
crazy about Rob. Like he's so good on some stuff. Like his good swings, right? Like when he's you get this a lot more nowadays, but I remember like growing up, my like the funniest players to watch play baseball were the guys who like would either hit a homer or strike out and nothing in between, or
Like
like hit a
Shohei,
homer or ground into double plays and nothing in between. And that's basically what Rob is, right? He's one of these like home run hitters who at his best, when he makes his best calls and best decisions, like that the offseason after Kawhi turned the Lakers down,
yeah, hit a
that
championship,
was
yeah,
one of the crazier heaters that we have seen from an executive in a little while. And then he also is capable of one of the worst off seasons that we have ever seen from the Lakers, right? The Russell Westbrook and Alex Caruso off season. And then he finds a way to get their backcourt of the future here potentially. I think they do need to supplement them. Like Gabe being your third best guard, I think
Sure.
really limits what this team is capable of. And I think, it would be nice. Like Jason and I talked about Josh Green as a potential addition, just to kind of like raise your floor a little bit, just in case Max doesn't have it one night, or just in case
Mm.
like Vando is not quite healthy, right? Like just have another option to, on the wing or something like that. I wonder what his price would be. I haven't really looked into it. But yeah, like I think like with Rob, and this is where it's going to be interesting. This is one of the, like, it's every other year, some years he doesn't do anything, other years he does. This is one of those years where he's supposed to go on one of those crazy heaters, and the Lakers like need it, and I think we as a fan base like really need that kind of a run. Because like it would really suck for the LeBron and AD era to just end on a fart noise.
What's crazy is like I don't even think it needs a heater. Like AD has been incredible. LeBron still looks this good. This team around, he's already got DFS, right? Which is not a heater shot, but it's at least like a make from the 3-point line, whatever it is, right? That's a good trade. D'Lo for DFS is a very solid move that has improved the team. So you just hope he takes a few shots, and I think Laker fans can live with misses. It's the when you talked about how the whole league is kind of risk averse right now. Lakers aren't in a position to do that. Like they just that's not a position they're in. They have a 40-year-old player and a superstar that's playing his best basketball maybe
Yeah.
that he's ever had. So yeah, hopefully Rob goes in. But no, that Max Christie contract is now I'm not sure if Darvin played Max, if that's the contract he gets in this summer.
Yeah,
but
right. Like they have Max on a contract because Darvin was such a bad coach. So thanks, Darv.
you win some.
LA writes trade idea. LA gets Josh Green and Cody Martin from Charlotte, and then Dayron from Brooklyn. Charlotte gets Rui and JHS from LA. Brooklyn gets Cam and Wood in 2 seconds. I think some draft capital would have to go to Charlotte in this scenario because, Green is, I think, good, and Cody's been pretty bad there in Charlotte, but I think he would get better in a better situation. I don't hate it. I like Dayron quite a bit. I don't know if he is a good enough center to be able to tell like AD, all right, AD, we got your guy. I think it's pretty much like in terms of centers, Turner or bust at this point. I don't think Kessler is actually available. And I don't think the Lakers want to pay what they would need to pay for Pirtle.
Vucevic maybe is on that list.
If Vooch drops down below a first round value, like if Chicago lowers their price to where they're willing to give him up for a couple second rounders, then I think he's a possibility. But certainly not for a first. I wouldn't give up a first for Vooch. And yeah, like the only guy out there who I think I would give up first round draft capital for is Turner. And he's the only guy that I think the Lakers could viably go to Davis and be like, all right, are we good now? Can we be good here?
Right. My I guess issue with this trade, Anthony, is I don't want to give up Rui without attaching a first. Like the value that you would get back, right? So just giving up Rui and only giving up seconds. This is a nice trade. It does kind of boost you from a rotational standpoint, but in the playoffs, you're gonna play 8-9 guys. This is a good regular season booster, right? And maybe Josh Green can play and Cody Martin can maybe play in the playoffs, but Rui's salary to me is too valuable to throw in with second rounders for what you get back in this deal.
Yeah,
so that's the reason
we kind of learned that lesson with D'Lo, right? Like,
sure, that's still a good move. You have enough salary left over after D'Lo, where I think that's a respectable move because you used to have Gabe and Rui salary, and at that time Vando's question mark salary. But right now you're down to Rui's your next biggest salary at 18 million, whatever it is. That's got to be attached with a first rounder to get something of value back that would help you in a playoff scenario.
All right, that is going to do it on that note. Sorry, on into the mic. For this episode and this week's episodes of the Lakers Lounge podcast, I'll pop back on here in a bit to record the lowdown as well. Raj, happy to have you back. Glad that you're back safely from Vegas.
Yes.
We are at that time of year, by the way, where we might have to hop on and record an emergency podcast. So if that is how things play out, I will be right here and ready to do that over the weekend or heading into next week. So keep an eye out for that. The best way to make sure you don't miss any of that is either to subscribe in audio form or to hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. A reminder that is youtube.com/@LakersLounge. So you get notified when we go live for that kind of breaking news. And yeah, until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Raj Palu. This has been the Lakers Lounge. Have a great rest of your weekend. Make somebody else's. And I will talk to you, might be 5 minutes from now. Who knows?
Good game.